I do not enjoy sharing stories from red states about the ways that Trump is absolutely screwing them over. Unfortunately, I have another one of those stories. It's from Alabama, but it's not going to go the way that you think, so please listen all the way until the end before you decide to comment with, well, that's what they get. Fuck around and find out. They voted for it, now they have to deal with it. Alabama went 64.5% for Donald Trump in the last election. And I want to share a story with you from NBC News about what Trump is doing to a county in Alabama. But again, hold tight with me because this is not going to go the way that you think. The title of the piece is Trump Shut Down Program to End Human Waste Backing into Alabama Homes, calling it, quote, illegal DEI. A $26 million federal program to help residents of Lowndes County, Alabama, who have dealt with inadequate sewage systems for decades, was stopped by an executive order. This piece is by Curtis Bunn, again published on NBCnews.com on May 1st. For the last 14 years, when it rains in Lowndes County, Alabama, that is the county one west of where the Montgomery bus boycott happened, contaminated standing wastewater builds up around Annie Burke's home. When the septic tank breaks down, raw sewage backs up into her toilet, she said. Although frustrated by the unhealthy and inconvenient conditions, Burke said she doesn't let it get her down. Human wastewater contaminating homes and yards in these rural parts of central Alabama has become a way of life. The problem has existed so long and was so pervasive that a 2017 study determined 1 in every 3 adults in the county had the intestinal parasite hookworm. Y'all, this is the United States of America. The next paragraph is going to start to reveal why I asked you to reserve judgment and not jump in the comments with, well, that's what they get. They voted for this, now they have to live with it. Yeah, wait. The Biden administration investigated and allocated nearly $26 million to rebuild Lowndes County's water infrastructure, with the Department of Justice declaring the majority Black area as suffering from environmental racism. That's right. Do you remember the other day when I made a video and I said that there are no red states and blue states? That even in states like Alabama that go 65% for Donald Trump, there are millions of people who did not vote for him. And anytime you are delighting in fuck around and find out content, anytime you're like, well, Alabama voted for Trump, so I have no pity for them. How do you feel about Lowndes County? According to 2024 U.S. Census data, Lowndes County is 72.4% Black. Lowndes County went almost 70% for Kamala Harris. But there's so much of this, like, well, red states deserve what they get, without understanding that there are vulnerable communities that Trump is targeting in every one of those red states. And this is a prime example. Earlier this month, Donald Trump issued an executive order killing the deal to rework the county's water infrastructure so that raw sewage was not backing up into school playgrounds, into people's homes, and in order to protect the public health. Trump canceled that program, calling it, quote, illegal DEI. If it had been a predominantly white community, do you think he would have canceled this program to make sure that raw sewage was not backing up all over town and in people's yards? Also, whoever's keeping that list of names of government officials who must face accountability in the post-Trump era, remember the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights under Trump, Harmeet Dillon. He said they will no longer push for, quote, environmental justice as viewed through a distorting DEI lens. DEI means diversity, equity, and inclusion. And remember, when I said anytime this regime says they want to do away with DEI, what they mean is they want to institute white supremacy. Anytime you hear we're doing away with DEI, understand what they mean is we are instituting white supremacy. A 2023 investigation sparked by environmentalist activist Catherine Coleman Flowers and conducted by the DOJ under Biden found that low-income residents of Lowndes County, most of whom are Black, have lacked basic sanitation services for generations. Shocked that Alabama denies basic sanitation to their Black residents. Due to the area's hard, impermeable soil and the high cost of installing private wastewater systems, many residents resorted to straight piping to deal with human wastewater. This method involves guiding human wastewater away from the home into a series of ditches and crude piping systems, according to the DOJ report. The water collects in nearby yards, open areas, and woods. In more recent years, heavier rainfall in the county related to climate change meant the contaminated water now floods into the homes, spills across open areas, and contaminates local vegetation and waterways, exposing residents to illness. Hundreds of families in Lowndes County have been forced to live with a failing water infrastructure that has led to serious health concerns, including hookworm, which at one point had been thought to be eradicated from the U.S. Hookworms are contracted by walking barefoot on soil contaminated with human feces. The infection causes abdominal pain, skin rashes, diarrhea, fever, and other ailments. This is the United States in the 21st century. People don't have basic sanitation. People are dealing with diseases that had previously been eradicated. We are dealing with diseases that happen in developing nations where they don't have proper sanitation. They don't have an infrastructure. When Trump wants to cut federal funding and say, let the states deal with it, how well has Alabama dealt with this problem? It's no coincidence that this community is 72% Black. The median household income is only $35,000 a year. 1/3 of the residents live below the poverty line. It's no coincidence that Alabama has not taken care of that community. And Black folks in poverty, those are absolutely targets of the Trump regime. Alabama Representative Terry Sewell, a Democrat who represents the area, said in a statement that the DOJ's reason for abandoning the deal was weak. This agreement had nothing to do with DEI, Sewell said. It was about addressing a public health crisis that has forced generations of children and families to endure the health hazards of living in proximity to raw sewage, as the DOJ itself documented. By terminating that, the Trump administration has put its blatant disregard for health, the health of his constituents, on full display. By the way, when Biden's DOJ investigated why this wasn't dealt with in Alabama, they found evidence to suggest that Alabama's Department of Public Health showed a consistent pattern of inaction or neglect concerning the health risks associated with exposure to raw sewage. Sewell added that the burden to remedy this injustice fell to the Alabama Department of Public Health, but the ADH told NBC News basically nope, wasn't our responsibility. Please understand that the cruelty is the point with this regime. The suffering they inflict is intentional. This program was cut because Trump doesn't care about Black Americans. Trump doesn't care about people in poverty. The article mentions that a number of the families in that county have been there since their ancestors were enslaved in that county. Trapping people in generational poverty is an intentional act that conservatives love to engage in. There is no reason in the United States that anybody should live like this, much less an entire county. We are the wealthiest nation on earth. There is more than enough resources to pay to fix things like this. The reason that this money was pulled, straight up racism. But also because Trump loves to inflict suffering. He loves watching people squirm. He loves inflicting suffering. And don't forget number 3, it's always about the grift. How can the super rich take our taxpayer money and instead of using it to give Americans a better quality of life, to make our communities function better, to keep us healthier, to install basic services and infrastructure that we need, the things our taxpayer dollars should be funding. Instead, it's how can they take our taxpayer money and put it right in their own pockets? How can they get away with stealing our taxpayer dollars and lining the pockets of the super rich with it?